In today's devotional, we are continuing to talk about the forgiveness of sins. 2 days ago, we mentioned what sin means. Then yesterday, we looked at what the goal is that God has in our lives. And then today, we're going to look at what the word forgive means in the Hebrew and in the Greek. So many times we think that forgiveness simply means that somebody doesn't keep something against you anymore or is not angry at you anymore. When we think of forgiveness along those lines, we basically would say that Jesus Christ's death and resurrection was helping God and not us. You might say, Bertie, what are you talking about? Imagine God being really upset at Adam and Eve, and then he needs to forgive us because he's very upset. It would be that his mind is caught up with a misdeed or a disobedience wherein he feels that an injustice was done to him and he needs to be relieved from that feeling. He then provides Jesus, and Jesus then relieves God from the feeling of unforgiveness. That doesn't make sense at all. And therefore we can know by it simply just not making sense and lining it up with what it means in the Hebrew and the Greek and what it traditionally meant as pertaining to the Jewish people and when they received forgiveness of sins and being set free from the rule of Pharaoh and so forth. We can see that forgiveness of sins has got a much deeper meaning and cannot be defined within the narrow confinements of somebody feeling angry or somebody feeling upset and being relieved from that feeling. What is forgiveness? If we look at the Hebrew word for forgiveness, the Hebrew word simply means when you forgive, it means you carry off or you take away, you support someone, you sustain someone, you endure, you help a person to endure. It also means to exalt, to lift up, to aid a person. Now, imagine that. If you forgive somebody, it means you're going to lift him up, you're going to aid him, you're going to help him, you're going to lift him up, or you're going to lift what is pushing him down up and take it away so that he can have life. If we think of the true definition of what sin is, sin means to be under the burden of what is leading you where you don't want to go. We can then start to see what forgiveness would be in the context of the true definition of sin. Thy definition defines forgiveness of sins as to bid going away or to depart of a husband divorcing his wife. It is sending something away, to send forth, to yield up, to expire, to send away, to divorce. So when we think of forgiveness of sins, we are thinking of a divorce that takes place, an ending of a contract, a burden that is gone. If you think of a very unhappy marriage where there is absolute abuse, wherein the one beats up on the other one and there's nothing good in that, and then the one sends the other one away, or there is a divorce, you find the end of the death that there was, where there's a brand new life ahead, the ending of that contract, sending that which destroys or that which corrupts away. When we think of Jesus Christ being our intercessor, and we look at Hebrews chapter 7 verse 25 and we define the word intercessor, wherein it says that he ever lives to make intercession for us. We define that word intercession, we see it in the Greek as explaining intercession as hitting the goal or to put something in the mark, to take a javelin, throw it right in the bullseye. That's what intercession would mean. So if we think of forgiveness of sins, we are thinking of the intercessor. We're thinking of God taking man and putting man in the plan, the goal that he had with man. That is what forgiveness would mean. So I conclude by saying this. Forgiveness of sins is not defined in God not being upset with Adam, and therefore when he forgave Adam, he forgives everybody, and God feels that he's not upset with people anymore. Forgiveness is defined in something that is much greater. It's got a concept of bearing the weight that pushes someone down. It's got something to do with setting free. It's got something to do with removing death from someone. If we look at Genesis 50, verse 17, we find that this intercession is kind of made between Joseph and his brothers. And it is asked that the Pharaoh, Joseph, would now forgive. Joseph had to forgive his brothers. What would forgiveness have entailed? Forgiveness would have meant, listen, they are dying where they are. There's a big drought. We've saved up corn in Egypt. Let them come in and have life. Let me remove death from them. So forgiveness was not just something that was in the heart of Joseph. Forgiveness would only be defined in setting his brothers and his father free from the oppression they are in and allowing them to have access to the life that you have. And that is the forgiveness that we see God brings forth in Jesus Christ. So forgiveness is simply God sending death away. Forgiveness is simply God bringing life to you. Forgiveness is simply making you a sharer in that which God has come to give us. Amen. I trust that these last 3 days has helped you to understand what the forgiveness of sins is. I will just have a good overview of this tomorrow. Thank you so much that you have joined in these devotionals. God bless.